The content you're about to hear is a part of a paid programming segment. The views, opinions, and statements expressed belong solely to the sponsor and do not reflect those of Podcastic or its host. This segment is for informational and promotional purposes only and should not be considered as advice or endorsement. Listener discretion is advised.
One step closer, you got to get one step closer, closer to love, closer to God, closer to who you want to be in life. Why? You got to get one step closer, closer to love, closer to God, closer to who you want to be in life. Take one step at a time to reach your goals.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of One Step Closer with your girl Chanie Shan. And today is another great episode. I have another great guest for you today, so we're gonna go ahead and dive right on in. So today we have Dez Cortez that is joining us today. A little bit about Dez. Dez Cortez Crenshaw is a dynamic multi-hyphenate, an accomplished actor with over 20 films to his credit, a master carpenter known for elite craftsmanship, a licensed life and health insurance producer, and the recipient of Detroit Actor of the Year Award. He's also the creator and co-host of Mentally Ill podcast with Dez Cortez, where he brings authenticity, insight, and humor to the conversations about mental health. Most recently, Dez was contracted to build a film studio in Southfield, Michigan, and is currently producing a 6-episode series being filmed right in the heart of Detroit. A proud graduate of University of Detroit, just at high school, Dez earned a full athletic scholarship to Central Michigan University, but his leadership started early. While still in middle school, he spoke before the U.S. Congress and received the Freedom Works Award from Congressman Dick Armey, representing Cornerstone Schools. In his heartfelt speech, he opened up about the pain of growing up with a father, battling addiction, and a defining moment that revealed his courage and commitment to creating change. After college, Dez moved to Los Angeles to study film production. His talent and relentlessness hustle earned him a reputation as the go-to carpenter for high-profile clients, including Miss Tina Knowles and other notable names in the entertainment industry. Today, Dez continues to break boundaries in film, business, carpentry, and mental health advocacy. He's living proof that with vision, versatility, and relentless drive, you can build a life as bold as your dreams. A great bio right there. So if you can, give a warm welcome to Dez Cortez. Thank you so much, Dez, for joining me today. How are you?
I greatly appreciate it. I'm great.
No problem. Good afternoon, Richard. Already tapping in. Thank you so much. So I want to get right into it.
Okay.
So 20 films, acting, 20 films. How is that for you? Where did the acting bag come from? How did that start?
Well, as you alluded to, I was at Central Michigan University and I was playing football, and I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is intestinal disease. We can talk about that later. But after being diagnosed, I was told that I couldn't play anymore.
Okay.
So I went into this deep depression. I really felt like I was gonna go to the league. How everybody do at that time or whatever. So I was depressed because I didn't know what I was going to do. The school had the first ever black play. Well, it was a black play, African American play or whatever that they did, and it was called Top Dog Underdog by Susie Laurie Parks.
Okay.
And someone said that I should audition for it, and I used some of that emotion for that character, who is a very wild and emotional character of Booth.
Okay.
And I got the role. I ran with the show. I got an opportunity to see how professional shows are being ran.
Nice.
I won some awards for it, and the director told me if I ever stop acting, she would kill me. So that's how I got to where I'm at.
Nice. Okay. So how do you get in and out of roles when it comes to acting? How do you prepare for them? And then how do you kind of disassociate and be like, okay, I'm not in character mode anymore?
My preparation. So what I do is when I have my characters, I try to dig into the minds of them. So a lot of times the producer or whatever doesn't have those exact things about the character. So what I do is I build this character up as a real person. Mm-hmm. I talk about situations that, not in the script, but ways that this person would handle those situations. And I put all my lines on the wall, and then I put all my thoughts on the wall.
Okay.
And then I see how my lines and my thoughts come together. And then I try to, I start a rhythm. Once I get my rhythm going, that helps me learn the lines a lot faster. Nice. And then I put that all together, and that's how I come up with my character.
Nice. That's a good strategy. Once everything aligns, it works, and it comes out on camera.
It does. It does.
Okay. So do you mind telling us maybe what is your the role that you had the most fun playing, and maybe what was your most challenging role?
The role that I had the most fun playing is I would have to say Trez in Parental Discretion Advised.
Okay.
Shout out to Kamal for that movie he wrote, produced. Trez was the kind of character that was most like the guys that I like to be around.
Okay.
As a kid.
Nice.
He was very dangerous, but very charismatic. The type of person that you wanted to be around, even though you knew you shouldn't.
Yeah, can't stay away.
Yeah, he was one of those type of people. And, we had choreographed fight scenes.
Yeah.
And we went out of windows. And, it was just, it was a production.
Okay,
and
nice.
It was very fun.
And we can appreciate those.
Absolutely. So shout out to that whole team. That was a great experience, and it came out in the movie, and the movie looked really, really well.
That is good.
One of the movies that I had a tough time with was Dear Future Husband.
Okay.
Just because the character was so dark.
Yes. It was such a good movie.
And it was a great movie.
It was. Nonetheless, it was.
And as I was prepping for this character, as I say, like I built a background, whatever. So I went to quite a few different women that I knew, and I asked them, like, "Have you ever dealt with this?" Because he was a woman beater, he was a manipulator, he was a whole bunch of different things. But when I would ask women, like, have they ever had that type of experience? Has that happened to them? 99% of them said yeah.
Wow.
Even ones that I didn't know, like even my mom said that my dad tried her once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
and the
whoa,
stories you
like,
don't even know.
You don't know. Like you just and women hold that to themselves. Yes. So that's why I wanted to make sure that character was so dislikable, so likable in a way that people had to look into see how dirty and how much of a dog he was. Because outside looking in, you would say they had a beautiful marriage. Even her friends like, "Oh, girl, I can't wait till I find my Boaz."
And that's how it really is in reality. You think everything
Boaz is really kicking your ass.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they don't really know that.
Doors.
So that's the type of character that I wanted with that. And it became pretty dark as far as the way people was treating me. Like they really treated me like that character. I remember I was getting my makeup done, and these people who worked with me, I don't know how many movies before that. Wardrobe, makeup, I knew them all. We were down there, and I was getting my makeup done in the morning. I said, "Hey, y'all, I'm pretty sure y'all not gonna like me after this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They was like, blah blah blah. We know it's just a movie. We know what it is. Man, I swear, about an hour, 2 hours into filming, when I came downstairs to get my makeup,
I warned y'all.
It was a feeling down there that I never want to feel again. The way that they was looking at me, the way that they felt. One of my makeup artists just flat out told them that they didn't want me in their chair no more. Like,
wow.
You know what I mean? Like, like she literally told them, like, "No, I don't want him in that chair no more. That's in him." Yeah, but the thing is when that spirit came into that room, it took them back to some places that they didn't want to be.
That's the one.
You know, and they heard those things before, and they got hit like that before, and they got manipulated like that before, and that came all out, and it came all out on me. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because you were that character. Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't take it personal, but at the same time, like, that's just not how you want to feel with the people who you love and who you've been dealing with. And then Deb, who played Deborah Spencer Lane, who played my wife in the movie.
Shout out to Deb.
Like, that's my homegirl. You know what I mean? Like, that's been my homegirl for a long time. For me to have to be her and mentally manipulate her like that and talk about her like that, do those things to her, tear her down, that was tough for me. You know, because I'm looking into her eyes. I'm looking to the eyes of Deb that I know, even though I know this is a movie. And she's such a great actress. And you can see how it was, she was allowing those words of mine to tear her down, like, word by word. And she did a great job, and it was really tough. Yes,
y'all both did a phenomenal job. And I feel like when you are in a role and people remember what you said, what you did, and how it made them feel, I feel like that's when you did a phenomenal and a great job. And even though the role was, like you said, tough, having to see this thing go on in real time, and you know you're not that person that's not really into you, you are that great of an actor to where you were able to tap into it.
And people still hate me because of that role.
Still.
Yeah, like, I mean, but when the movie first came out, it was pretty bad, because, like, people would find me on Facebook, and they would, like, call me on Facebook.
Wow.
And for a while, like, I didn't answer them. I didn't look at it. I just knew, like, after a while, people were going to, like, this is just a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it'll die down. People were just in their feelings. But I had a few friends, like, no, we got to hear what these people saying, bro. Like, so they would answer my phone. And it would be crazy sometimes, like, what the people would be saying. Like, it was one dude, he was like, I just really don't understand why I hate somebody so much who ain't never did nothing to me.
Or never met, probably.
And I'm like, dog, like, you the one who called me, like you were telling yourself that you shouldn't be doing it, and you doing it. Like, you got some problems.
Anyway,
but you can see how that type of atmosphere, those type of feelings affect people.
Yeah.
And I know people who, I saw that a lot growing up. I didn't grow up in that situation, but I know people who grew up in that situation, mothers and fathers, and those type of things, who had to deal with that and see that every day. So I wanted to bring that spirit so people can understand that's not something that you want to be around.
Yeah.
Maybe that would deter somebody from, chasing the look of a great life.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We never know what that looks like behind closed doors. And a great life is subjective. Yeah. It's whatever, that looks like for you.
Yeah. I piss people off. Like, people said that they was going to hurt me.
So you received threats behind it.
Oh, yeah. I had some threats for sure. And I even had a granny threat. Like, a girl texted me, and I kept it too. She said, Can we cuss on her?
Yeah.
She said, she said, my granny said she gonna fuck you up. I'm like,
and coming from her grandma, that's how you know she was serious.
I'm like, dang, your granny said. And then somebody sent me a picture of, like, her niece or something like that. I guess she knew Deb beforehand. Yeah. She was, like, beating the shit out the couch, like, had the couch pillow. She was hitting it, back, like, tearing it up. She was like, that's you. I'm like, oh man, damn.
You like all of this from just but that's how you know you did a great job. But also, you embody that character.
I like that type of character got that type of reaction.
Yes.
And it was people talking. It was some freaky girls. Okay. Writing me talking about something. Ooh, I like the way you smacked the shit out of her. I like the way you did.
They got the people going a little bit.
I'm like, is something wrong with you, lady? Like, if you
Yeah, because on one end it's people getting triggered by this, and then on the other end people are,
literally turning them on. Like, ooh, like the way you put that food on her face and did it. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, I saw it on both ends.
Right. Wow. Okay. So let's get into a little bit about your background, kind of growing up, and what prompted the podcast, Dez Cortez, Mentally Ill.
Like a lot. Well, where should I start? Like a lot of people who grew up in the hood, you grew up with some mental illnesses that you don't have. We don't know very much about the brain. So to us, if anybody was saying anything about any type of mental illness, you was crazy.
Yeah, or therapy. Or
anything like that. it was just crazy. So, I never looked into any of that, even though I was having all these traumatic experiences growing up. I grew up in Highland Park in the early 80s where when, if you know anything about crack, you would know that, Highland Park, the surrounding areas, and pretty much almost every black neighborhood in the world, was just torn down, by this drug called crack. And, I grew up in that
era,
My dad was addicted to heroin.
Okay.
He's addicted to opioids. My family were Christians. The guys on my block who were like my uncles, they were all dope boys. So they're the ones that I really looked up to and wanted to be like, because they was giving dope to my daddy, you know what I mean, that type of thing. And
so you feel like this couldn't be a bad thing? They're not, bad
absolutely
people,
not.
right?
Yeah, and the way that they treated me, treated me with love, and I would be working with my dad or whatever, and we'd be doing whatever type of drug related thing, you know what I mean, cleaning up or something like that, and I would just be thinking like, man, like I'm not gonna be this dude on this side of the stick.
Wanting to make that difference.
I did, and my dad was so intelligent, and that was the thing about it, like he was so intelligent, like he had this effect on people that was amazing, and for that drug to have a hold on him like it did, I just didn't want to be that. So I grew up seeking, something other than what I had. So when I go into these different characters or whatever, I tap into people that I grew up around, people that I saw. So I saw a lot of drugs. I saw a lot of sex. I saw a lot of everything. Right,
the violence.
As a kid that shouldn't be experiencing those things, for sure. As I look at my kids and how old they are, and I realize like what I was doing at that age, I'm just like, wow, like I see more hand in how detrimental that stuff was to me and was to my brain. So, I went through a lot. So after that, I decided to change my life around. I got out the gang. They beat the hell out of me.
To get out?
To get out the gang, 6 dudes for 6 minutes.
Wow. So that's really a thing.
Yeah. They beat the hell out of me. Yeah. I got jumped in too. That was crazy. You jumped in,
so
jumped out.
So it's really a thing to get jumped in and jumped out.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, but the jumping in wasn't really that bad. See, like the jumping in was like,
is it at that point because you really want somebody?
Yeah, well, no, it's just like you and maybe 2 other dudes. You know what I mean? Like it ain't like everybody just running the jump. And it could be you getting jumped in with like somebody else too. So y'all all scrapping. You know what I mean? They really just want to see like if you got the heart to scrap. Really, from what I saw in the end. But when they jumped me out, that really wasn't the case. So I saw my dad overdose. I saw him getting taken off to prison. I had to go visit him in prison. My uncle had to go visit him. My dad's twin, he was serving life for murder. I had to go visit him. I had to deal with that. My sister was having a hard time. My mom was having a hard time raising all of us.
Yeah, just going through that transition period of everything changing. So
I never had the opportunity to really understand what was going on mentally. And then once I got up to Central Michigan, and I was the man all the time and everything. Like I was the man in football. I was the man in high school. I was the man. Like this, and I was the man in my neighborhood. I was the man. And everybody was counting on me making it to the league so we can get a couple dollars and bring the hood back.
Like it's out the hood. Yeah.
And then when I got up there, and that was like taken away from me. So I thought, it really drove me to some deep depression.
Yeah, because you were told that you would not be able to play again.
But I didn't know what that was. You know what I mean? To the point where they was like, yeah, Crohn's disease. It was kind of new then. People didn't know much about it. But they was like, yeah, it comes with depression. So we're going to put you on this antidepressant. And I didn't know nothing about it then.
And when did you first get diagnosed with Crohn's?
I was 21, 22.
Okay.
It was my red shirt junior year, so it was my third year in there.
Okay, so you were playing when you found this out, and then they told you that because of this you wouldn't be able to play again.
I was literally in camp.
Wow.
Yeah. I never forget it.
So were you able to, in your college, were you able to talk to any of your counselors, or you just kept this kind of
It was
bottle?
nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's why I went down. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't a thing then. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We talking about early 2000s. Like, that wasn't a thing. You know, and, you know, it was just like, you not tough then. You know what I mean? And especially when you're on the football team, like, they don't have time for things like that. The one thing that helped me a little was I went to the coaching staff. So I was able to be on the coaching staff, so I was able to be with the team, travel, everything like that. So that helped, you know what I mean? But still, I dove into some depression. It wasn't until, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I started to really think about my mental health.
Okay.
Diving
that
into
is great.
Then everything started to make sense. And then once everything started to make sense, I was able to forgive myself for real, and then understand the way that it felt, so I can want that for everybody.
And I feel like that's
know.
where it starts. It starts
Absolutely.
with you giving yourself grace, like you said, giving that apology, allowing you to actually feel and go through those emotions and understand, like, hey, this is not okay. I need to get in a space where I'm able to talk about it, work it out, go seek help, things like that. So I really commend you on that. So that prompted you to go into Mentally Ill with Dez Cortez, the podcast. Yeah,
it was it was quite a few years later, but I did want people to feel that sense of relief. I did want people to feel just the weight that's on them right now that can be lifted through understanding what their brain went through from what they done, like understanding that how the brain reacts to certain trauma, and treating it like other parts of the body, and understand that it needs treatment and it needs time to heal, and there's different things on everybody's brain that affects people different ways. Like, people don't understand that. They blaming themselves for everything, and it's really not necessarily like that. So that was something that prompted me, and I also wanted people to understand that everything's in the brain mentally, and that they need to start changing things with their thinking first.
Yes.
So
changing your perspective.
Yeah, and I thought that would be the best way. Okay.
So what were some of the signs of your depression, if you don't mind going into that?
Quite a few. I remember I was also a drinker, heavy drinker then.
Okay.
So I would just drink a lot to the point where I would be crying and stuff, and
that emotion gonna have to come out one way or another.
Yes. So people didn't, people stopped wanting to be around me. I remember not taking care of my house. I remember laying on the couch and literally not being able to get up, like knowing that I can get up, but mentally,
it was just that weight on you.
Like it was a weight on me. Yes, it was a weight on me. People call them spirit. People call them a lot of different things, but it was a weight on me that I had never experienced before, and I had nobody to run to.
I was gonna say, you didn't have that
everybody was expecting me.
To show
to be
up.
the man.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then when everything was all said and done, they packed my stuff out and they sent me back home. I was just back in the hood, like.
So at that point, do you feel like you lost everything in that, for lack of better words?
I did, even though, I come to realize later on it was the best thing that probably happened to me in my life.
And I feel like that's important, because sometimes we think about, the loss of things as a bad thing, but whole time it can be protection. It can be, putting you back on the path that you should be on. It can be literally setting you straight.
99% of the time it is, and that's why it's important for people to start thinking about it like that. Like, this is just something to get you on your path. Understand this what it is. You gotta allow people to play their part. You can't you can't take it personal. You can't do like people have to play their part in order for you to get where you need to get. Now it's up to you to do what you need to do to make that happen again.
Right.
But don't take it personal. Don't stress out about it. Don't feel like this. Don't feel like that. People are gonna have to play their roles, and it's up to you to learn what you need to learn. And if you don't, then you lose it, flat out.
That is true. And so we're going to check out a few of the comments right now. Britt said, "Hey y'all." Lake said, "Sounds like my daddy." And And Miss Medina said a crying drunk is the worst.
Oh man, I was the worst.
Yeah, he did say a few people did not want to be, around him, but I could understand because he had to let those emotions come out one way or another. And you have to understand when you drink, it's a spirit. So it's they call it liquid courage for a reason, because you start doing things that you wouldn't normally do.
They call it a spirit.
Call it a spirit. say that's what it is. So
come on.
It does that. It does just that. Like it'll literally alter your thinking, alter your mind.
Absolutely.
Give you the courage or just to do things that you normally would maybe think twice about. So it's definitely something to be around. So let's talk a little bit about the Detroit Actor of the Year award.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So when was that? How was your...
That was 2020. What's this, 2025? Mm-hmm. That was 2023, 2022.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, congratulations.
Something of that
Congratulations. And how did that come about? Did you get that off of a specific role or?
Yeah, it was the Detroit Filmmaker Award. Shout out to Darren Brown.
Nice, shout out to
my
him.
guy, he did an excellent job on the awards this year too. It was beautiful. But it was for the character Chris in Dear Future Husband.
Okay.
So yeah, I had to be crooked before I took it. So I had to I haven't had that wild role, but yeah, I won it for that role.
Nice. Congratulations. So now building a studio in Southfield and currently producing a six episode series. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually the Collective is a group.
Okay.
And they're here in Detroit, and
shout out to the Collective.
Shout out to the Collective producers. And they have a whole floor basically of a building, and wanted to put studios in it for filming to help us save money, you know. And just to say, like in my series, like just having that building saved me like I think it was like $47,000 or something like that from what I would have to rent.
And that can put money in other places to make sure that
it can go to my actors.
Exactly.
It can go to, people don't understand that part of it. But they opened up a lot of doors. So what happened was, we talked about it before, we couldn't line it up. They had someone else started, and they didn't do a good job or whatever. They fired them, asked me to come in. So I totally revamped everything, refinished all of them. The ones that weren't built, I built those, and it's beautiful. Like, I really like it.
That is so good.
I'm definitely proud of it. And
so what is your role in building, as far as in the Collective studio? How do you fit into that?
I'm the carpenter.
Nice.
I actually build the things with my hands. So
Ooh,
when they say what they say they want to see or what I feel like needs to be seen, then I'll build it with my hands there.
Nice.
And it feels great, man, because when I get the opportunity to see it, like in movies or different things like that, or seeing one of my friends whose dreams are be able to come true, you know what I mean?
You're like, I know that.
I remember doing the floor in the courtroom. And I was just thinking about how much money it was gonna save me.
Yes.
But how much of a blessing it was for me to really
be able to do that.
Put this, like, can't nobody take that from me. Like, I built this.
Exactly. How did you get into carpentry?
Oh, funny, man. That's another story. When I was in depression and everything too, I was an education specialist at the Detroit Zoo. Got it. So I know that's very random, but I would be able to work with and learn with all the different animals, which was a dream of mine growing up working with animals. And for me to be able to do it was an amazing blessing. So you never wanted to be more so on the veterinarian side? You just had a love for animals? I wanted to, but I didn't have the money and the time to be on the vet side. I had to be on the education side. Mm-hmm. But I got a chance to work with the keepers very close hand. Nice. I also was able to document and really learn their techniques for training the animals and be there with them as they trained them. So I got some great relationships with some great animals there or whatever. But at the same time, I felt like I wasn't making enough money there. I don't know if you ever worked at a nonprofit, but they don't really pay you much at nonprofits. So I left, a lot faster than I probably should have. Should have gave it some time. I was more so thinking about how much I was getting paid, not who I could become. and I could have become
Not
something.
thinking about that long term.
You know, I just wasn't in that mindset then or whatever. So I left there. I didn't get another job right away. And carpentry came around. I had a friend, like I knew how to do like little stuff or whatever. And he was like, hey man, we building a hospital and we need some help.
Wow. And you showed up. He's like, okay. I
was like, all right. I showed up.
Yeah.
I realized I didn't know anything.
And that's the biggest part though. You showed up.
Yeah. No, it is. And I don't know if you ever learned anything from carpenters, but they can be very, very, very hard on you. And they were very, very hard on me when I first got there.
Because everything
and I had the decision to make. Yeah, I said, do I really want to stay here and get this knowledge? Or do I want to say I'm gonna sock the shit I want to eat, or I'm gonna do something crazy? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I was just sitting at a desk. I had this, I had my own. You know what I mean. I'm thinking like that. Why am I pushing this hammer? Yes. But I had to drop that, and when I did drop that, it became one of the best. One of the dopest blessings I've ever.
When you change your perspective, yes,
absolutely.
That's good. So, how do you feel about those type of classes and skills being taken out of schools now for young men, as far as carpentry, as far as hardware, working with their hands and things like that?
I just know it's a way to keep people, doing what they want you to do. As you get the opportunity to do those things and learn those things, you become more of an entrepreneur. And that ain't really what they want. They want you to be more so work for them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That 9 to 5.
Yeah, and they need people to do that. So they're not going to convince you to go in it for yourself. So, taking those things out is a travesty. I think now that people are getting this education and understand what's really going on, they're going more back into that. Or they can go into the schools and learn the stuff in the schools, and then and then end up doing it afterwards as far as the trades. Yes. Because they just saw that it was a lack in it, and just those ways don't work, man. When you're trying to manipulate people, when you're trying to it'll work to the point that you have the ability to tell a person what they should be thinking. You know what I mean? You got ability to show them when they controlling the TV, when they controlling everything that you hear.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier for them to do that. But now when you can hear something from somebody overseas in 5 minutes now and the whole world can hear it, now it's like, I got to change my tune. I got to, do this. And it's kind of
the information is getting out there. Yeah. That they did not
now it's too late.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay, so in regards to the skilled trades and things like that, as far as the carpentry, is that something that you would more so kind of encourage people, maybe your kids and things like that, as far as just entrepreneurship for the youth? Yeah,
they need a lot more, black builders. They do, but I really want people to just really go for what they really love to do. Because if you don't love to do carpentry, then this ain't for you.
That's true.
You just not gonna want to do.
So that advice for entrepreneurship would be going to something that you want to do.
You must, or it's gonna drag you.
It'll be draining.
Yeah, it will be draining for you, and then you're gonna get the wrong interpretation about what it should be. If you go into entrepreneurship understanding that the road to get there is just as important as when you sell your company globally, or when you know what I mean, when you understand that, then that's when you really get to understand to really, really, really win from the things that you're doing. But if you don't, then you almost manipulate yourself, I guess, in a sense.
Okay. So what other advice would you give to people that is looking to maybe be an entrepreneur, go into entrepreneurship, and to kind of stay into entrepreneurship? Study hard on what you want to do. Okay. We got a problem here in the city where we feel like we good enough to do things to the point where we don't have to study. And it's true. I do believe the people in Detroit have been blessed with some unique techniques and things of how to handle certain things that, they do well out in the world. But I also feel like it's a lot of stuff that we need to learn. And anytime that we feel like we know everything that we need to know, then we really don't know anything. And I just want to make sure that we stay in that same mindset. So I really want people to educate themselves on what they want to do, and have a love to know more about it, instead of just saying, well, I made $50,000
I made 100,000 this year.
Right, but how did you do that? Did you check
I'm
into your
doing
numbers,
great,
your
right?
analytics? Yeah.
I'm doing so great. Let me buy me a chain and some glasses. And, you know, and then that's all people really have. You know, people have.
Yeah, I think that's good, because to some people, them buying the chains, them buying the glasses, the Cardis or whatever, is to them symbolizing that they made it, that they're at a level of you know, stature.
And that's a level that they're going to stay at.
That's true.
You know
Stay stagnant, yes, because to be able to invest in yourself and go further, or maybe, you know, flip what you just did and make it better is what you should be trying to do when you're an entrepreneur.
You don't see no self-made millionaire.
That is true.
Oh, I bought me a chain. Like, they don't never, you don't
and
never
actually,
hear that.
you won't even really be able to pick them out in the room, because they don't have the bling and the watches and you know,
that's the key.
Yeah,
and
real subtle.
The loudest one is always the weakest one.
That is true.
And I've always been about that too. Like, you know, I'm the type of guy, I'll be sitting in the back somewhere, you would never even know I was there.
Yeah, because when I read, I'm like, Tina knows. I'm like, I'm sorry, Tina knows. I'm like, whoa.
Oh,
like,
that was a grand experience. But that experience stemmed from me not being a bitch and learning,
showing up, getting out
showing
there.
up and learning. You know, putting my ego aside, which we're gonna have to do a lot more of.
Yes, I think that's so important.
It's very important for us. We don't know how powerful we are, and our ego is really one of the main things that's holding us back.
Standing in our own way.
And once we understand how to use that, you know what I mean, it won't be a weak thing. It'll be more of a mastery thing. And I think we need to get more than the mastery of those type of things. Because we can't allow those things to like tear us down and, you know, put us in predicaments where now we can't shine our light on the world.
Exactly.
So we was worried about something like that. So if I was worried about that, you know what I mean, there's a bunch of things said and done at that time that I straight would have went off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you know who I am?
Too. Yeah.
Right. And just thinking that in that manner, in that way, just, you know, I just didn't understand. So getting that attitude out the way is something that everybody's gonna need to do. So when I got to LA, I was taking classes with Richard Lawson.
Okay, nice.
He's been doing very, very well. He's an amazing coach.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Richard Lawson, my guy. But I remember I had to. I was taking classes up there.
And this was for film and production.
Yeah,
right?
so something like I left my family here. Something was telling me to do it. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. It was the hardest thing that it was. I mean, it was, but I just had to do it. Like someone was telling me to do it, so I went. I was taking some classes with Richard Lawson, and I ran out of money. It's very expensive there. I ran out of money and I had to go home. And I was telling him, like, I'm sorry, man, I got to go home. He was like, man, you one of the people who I really feel like can make it here. Like, don't leave.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I wish I could. But I gotta do. So he said, you know, what can you do? I said, I'm a carpenter. He said, don't leave yet. So my plane was leaving at like 8 something.
He's like,
I'm like,
time is of the essence.
I don't even have the money to get another plane ticket or switch it or whatever. Yeah. Like, I gotta go. I'm sorry, bro. He called me at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, oh, dang. He like, I'm thinking he gonna have me work at the theater, you know, and he like, you wanna build my man cave? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to build your man. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, like, of course. Like, because I knew that was something that I could do, that I would be able to get the money. You know what I mean? Right. And I kind of wanted to be around him, too. Like, you know, he always with the stars and everything like that. Like, I wanted to be in those type of situations.
Yeah.
So
great opportunity.
So he sent me a car. I got in the car, went to his house, and when I pulled up, I was just like...
in awe.
I was stuck.
Wow. That's such a great experience, though.
It was at the top of the hills. It was to the point where I just had to stop and just take it all in. Mm-hmm. And he waited for me, and he was like, "You all right? You gonna be all right?" I'm like, "But just
be all right.
I ain't never like for real. Like I had never experienced nothing like that.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I mean? Like I had never been to no multi-million-dollar mansion, you know what I mean, overlooking the whole city in the Hollywood Hills. I had never done that. And me actually going in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're going in to do the work like that you were asked to do.
You know, so I'm like, I'm just in awe already, you know. Yes. So, you know, I forgot about everything else. I wasn't even thinking about it. So we walk in, he was showing me the area where he wanted the stuff at. So I started talking like, I'm gonna put this here, I'm gonna put this here.
Creative juices got to flowing.
I hear a woman voice say, I ain't gonna like it. And I turn around and I forgot. Like, I ain't gonna even lie. Like, I was just trying my best to stay there so much I forgot that Miss Tina was his wife at the time. Like, it just, you know what I mean? I knew it, but I wasn't thinking about it going there. My whole time going there, I never thought about her being there. You know what I mean? And then when I first saw her, I'm like, oh, yeah, that too. That, you know, so when she said that, I'm like, dang, I done messed it up already. Like, she like, I ain't gonna like it. And like, she like walked out, and I'm like, oh man, I done messed. Like, I ain't even really met her yet.
One thing I can say though, shout out to Miles. What I can say is that sometimes the person that's creating, they see something that's totally different than what the person that's asking for the help has in mind.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we just have to step back and trust the person that is driving the boat.
Yeah, no.
And I know that's hard because we got our vision of how we want something to look, but if we're asking for that help, that experience, that professionalism, we need to just let them do.
And that comes from people stumping out that ego.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That is it.
One little bit at a time. So then he said, hey, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? Just do your best. I know she gonna like it. Did it after a while. So I was working there for a couple of days. Of course, I couldn't get no way. Like, they had to send a car to come get me. I couldn't have nobody drop me off and no stuff like that.
That's so real.
Yeah. So, you know, I was able to be around. And then I remember one time she came down, she looked at it, and she was like, Dez, I never doubt you again. And she gave me a high five. And
that's so good.
After that, she like
that should have made me feel so good.
What you saying? She took me from Richard after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was like, I need this. Okay. I need this. I need this. I need. So, you know, I stayed in the house so much. You know what I mean? She kept me there. We shared like some great times, some great stories. Like, it was just like, I just couldn't believe. Like, I just couldn't believe that I was having that experience. Like, I couldn't believe I was there.
So along with that, how many other great experiences or just other experiences you have with Los Angeles? Is it, you know, a lot different from here, or?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot different from here.
Okay.
One of the great things about that I learned there, which helped me out a lot, which I want people to really understand, is I went there thinking, seeing the houses on the hills, and thinking like, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. But when you get there and you start to meet those people for real, you be like, oh shit, maybe I don't.
Maybe
because we in here and we crying about a bill here, a bill there, when truthfully a few dollars fall in our hand, and kind of all the stuff that we thinking about would like truly like go away.
Yes.
But they have problems that they money can't buy. You know what I mean? You can't become a better person. A lot of them peoples are in the mansions by they motherfucking
miserable because they're not good people on the inside.
They have tore down everybody to get to that point. Up. And now they there and they by themselves and they don't understand.
Yeah, because now you got money, but you're not spending it.
So I was blessed to be able to see that, like, oh no, that kind of ain't really. And these people was fucked up. Like, not like my homie sad or whatever.
Right.
He lost it. No, these people was bad down, fucked up. And I was like, hey, these is the type of problems that I don't want to have.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was blessed to be able to see that. But on the other side of the coin, where I was able to see the Knowles family, when I was able to see just how they reacted to different things and how they treated people, it was totally different. It was people who had, you know, worked from the bottom all the way up, and they didn't treat people like that. They had friends. They had people who wanted to be around them, and it wasn't just because of the money. And one of the great things about it is, they taught me my value. Like, they always treated me like I was equal to them, hands down.
That speaks volumes.
All of them.
Wow.
And it would just, I mean, and I'm pretty sure like they don't know this, But the way that they changed my heart for how I felt about myself, killed it.
That speaks volumes. Changed your heart.
Oh my God, it did. They was like, yeah, you ain't a millionaire now, but you gonna get it. Like, you got the type of personality. Like, yeah, you gonna get it. And it was like, it was nothing. Like, okay.
And people speaking that into you.
Man, speaking into me.
You have no choice but to show up and deliver after that, because they're speaking into you. They're believing in you. And the God told you, I don't want to see you go just yet. You like, hey, I don't want to, but I have to.
I got to.
He made sure that that changed for you.
And like I said, and if I would have been a punk back then, if I would have retaliated, or if I would have said, I don't want to learn this trade, I'm better than, I'm bigger than this, it would have never happened.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It would have never happened. And I learned so much there. They treated me so, like, I'm gonna even tell you a story about how good they treated me. It was a party coming up, bunch of multi-million to billion dollar black people.
The big league.
The big league, for real. The type of parties they go to. And she asked me, like, did I want to go? And I'm like, it's hot in LA, so I'm nasty, you know what I mean? And it's like 2 hours from my house, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way for me to go and come back, get cleaned up. So I said, Miss Tina, I really can't be around on people like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I would love to go. I greatly appreciate you, but, I can't go. She said, okay. Man, I came back downstairs, I think about 30 minutes later. She had a whole outfit laid out for me.
See.
Shoes, all that. She was like, you go get cleaned up.
See. That's how you know that people really care for you.
Man, really, really.
And it's further
really
beyond what you can do for them. It's them actually seeing you, caring about you, and them being genuine, whole people. Yeah. And you can tell when a person is genuine.
She didn't want to help me stop drinking. I don't think she even know.
Wow.
She don't even know.
To her.
She don't even know. Like,
wow.
First of all, they had everything in the house, but they also had tons of liquor. Of course,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, tons of liquor is in their crib. So I used to,
of course,
help myself.
Have a time.
You know what I mean? Like,
the labs told me everything I needed to know.
This without, but I wasn't drinking enough to get drunk.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I didn't feel like I had a problem or whatever. So, I would just drink, so me and Miss Tina would like ride together all the time. Just me and her, we would cruise at the Porsche. And we cruise, we would just talk. We'd go to Home Depot, different places like that, cruising the Porsche. And we would talk back and forth. And I think one time she like smelled it on me. And so we ride and we whatever. Richard, I ended up getting with
Did
Richard
she know
later.
what you were going through prior to?
Nothing.
No? Okay.
Nothing. She didn't care. Really.
Okay.
But I told her, so I talking to Richard later, he was like, hey man, I think Tina think that you got a problem drinking. And that, completely tore me down. Like, I was like, I can't believe you got this opportunity.
Exactly.
And you about to lose it for some alcohol.
Because you never wanted them to know that side.
Listen, I have been drinking since I was 14 or 15, pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
I stopped cold turkey that day.
Woo. And that's something phenomenal to be able to do.
I tried before. I've tried. Man, listen.
When you have that purpose in place.
She changed my tune like that. But that
cold
came
turkey.
from. I kept the half because they had Quavo fifths next to the store next to my house had Quavo fifths for $7.99 or something like that.
Quavo fifth.
A whole fifth of Quavo for $7.99. So I got pictures. My whole floor.
So that was nothing.
It was nothing.
That started to be the decor.
I was tearing them boys down.
That started to be the
and
floor decor. And
I kept that half bottle right there every time I walked out my room. Like, dog.
Wow.
So if you don't understand, that's when I really understood the power of my mind.
Yes.
Like, that was one of the first instances.
Anything.
And then after that, and I stopped drinking and things start coming to me. And like, it was on and popping after that.
Wow. That mind control is the thing, because that's the difference from keeping you stagnant and moving you forward. When you change your perspective and get out of that rut that you're in.
And once you understand that, you're free. And that's the biggest thing ever. And bad things still may happen to you, but at the same time, the way you think about them is different.
That is true.
The way it happens is different. The way you feel about it is different, and it is not the same.
That is true.
You know what I mean? I really want, and that's one from the show. I really want people to feel that. I really want people to see that. I'm in front of the camera all the time, but really, if I could chill and not, I would.
A lot happens behind the scene that makes things work.
Man, I would be doing the stuff where, like, you don't have to see me, you gotta be around. I would want to just be fishing. I want to be able to walk in the store for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and just be free.
Yeah, I just want to be able to be free. I saw what it's like to not be able to be free. You know what I mean?
Because it was in your mind.
Yeah, and I just don't want that for myself. So it's very important for me to show others through me and what's going on with me.
I'm definitely glad that you chose better for yourself to do better.
Thank you.
I'm definitely glad that you took initiative to really key in on the mental health, wellness, to become an advocate of mental health for others, to help them, push them through, give them the signs. So I think that that's commendable that you took your experiences, changed them, flipped them, and want to make a difference in other people's lives that look up to you. So I definitely commend you on that. I do have one more thing before we do get up out of here. What is one piece of advice that you can let people know as far as becoming one step closer to either their dream, goal, aspiration? What advice would you give them?
The advice that I would give them is, this is basically a test ground. This world is a testing ground. It's going to tell me what type of soul you have, and it's going to show you what type of soul you have. So the more you cry about your situation, the more you allow things to hold you down, the lighter your soul going to be. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it goes. Like, and when you find out more about yourself, you're going to realize, as a spirit, you put yourself in this situation because you knew how strong you were, and you knew you would overcome it. And you knew the feeling that it would happen from once you jump over that hill. So if people understood that and took this more as not necessarily a game, but more as a way to show your proven grounds of who you are, it'd be a whole lot different.
Wow.
You know what I mean? People wouldn't take stuff so personal. People wouldn't hold grudges.
Yes.
People could easily forgive. And people don't understand the weight that has on them and their decisions going through life.
Yes.
They have no idea.
Let go. You have to let go. It's going to eat you up.
Man,
it's going to eat you up.
Yeah. If people would just think that way, you know what I mean? Love this journey, because that's where it happens. And just real quick, and they told me, and somebody, I can't say who, but they was like, hey man, I would never give you $1. Because what's going on with you right now, this time right now, before you get your millions of dollars, is what you're going to think about when you get your millions of dollars. The people that you meet right there, the people who you know that's really with you, those are the ones that you're going to want to be around when you got your millions of dollars. Once you got your millions of dollars, everybody going to want to come around. Everybody going to want to be. Everybody going to want to help. Everybody going to be this and be that. I want to tell you something.
That in between of the journey, that's the necessary part.
He said that's the best part of your life, and I would never, ever take that from you.
Wow, that was great.
So I learned a lot there, and it was a blessing.
Yes, because a lot of people look at that time as the shaking or wavery time where they lose faith or lose sight of focus. But again, I commend you. That was great advice to be able to give to the listeners on becoming one step closer. So Dez, I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today and sit at the table on One Step Closer. And I just want to encourage everybody out there that on today and every day, you are one step closer to your dreams. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, great weekend, and I will see you next week. Peace.
One step closer, you got to get one step closer. Closer to love, closer to God, closer to who you want to be in life. Why? Closer. You got to get one step closer. Closer to love, closer to God, closer to who you want to be in life. Take one step at a time to reach your goal.